Hello, everyone. Welcome to View from the Sidelines. I'm joined by John, JP, from WHU TV. How are you, John?
I'm doing all right, mate. How you doing?
Oh, good, mate. Good. Great result Monday, wasn't it, mate?
Very good, and thank you very much, of course, for offering me to come on for this. I know we've been trying to sort something out for a good couple of weeks now, but yes, very, very happy with how things are going at the minute. Punching above our weight is an understatement, I think, so far this season, isn't it? Bearing in mind this time last year, we were 2 games away from the end of the season, and we're wondering if we're going to stay up, and now we're wondering if we're going to get into the top 6. So mental, absolutely mental.
Where do you think it's gone right this season?
I personally just think it's more to do with Moyes and his staff, and getting everything together properly. I mean, let's be honest, he didn't have that much time last season. We've got rid of 2 players that were not fitting in right, shall we say? You know, putting Anderson out on loan and eventually getting rid of Allaire, which is a bit of a shame because people seem to forget that he scored a lot of the goals early on in the start of the season that helped us get to where we were anyway. You take Allaire and Souček out, then there's nothing there. But he was quite instrumental. He pissed a lot of people off, myself included. And I know, James, you've had a few words to say about him over the last few months as well.
Yeah.
But it's a cohesion. It's getting rid of the players that don't want to be there. Either selling them out, putting them out on loan, or selling them completely, and it seems to have gelled the team together. And long may that continue.
Do you think do you think all the signings have worked this season, though? Because in some clubs, you sign a player, and sometimes you've got to wait a period of time. But we've signed Kafal this year. He's been great. Dawson's come in. He's done great. With Ben Rama, people are hit and miss with him. I like him personally. I think he's a good player. I think he's got a great future. All the players that we've signed, they've all worked at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's more to do with the fact of motivating the players to keep them going. It's a great sign that we've made Rice captain for like 95% of this season. But yeah, it's strategic signings for a change, rather than just throwing money at the problem as we've been doing under previous managers. Pretty much all of them since Allardyce, really, just been throwing money left, right, and centre and hoping for the best. Whereas now Moyes has come in, is taken us back to the old school of how West Ham used to be, the right old West Ham, and in adopting his approach that he had with Everton as well. Just right players in the right positions at the right times, and it's paying off big time, literally paying off.
Yeah, it is, mate. Well, let's start with it. Let's start with Monday's game. Obviously, we go to Burnley. We both know that we don't win at Burnley. It's one of them places where we have got such a poor record at Burnley. And what was you thinking, mate, when we went 1-0 down after like 15 minutes or whatever it was?
Do you know what? I was pretty confident. I wasn't happy with how in the Diop's performance in the build-up and his first half performance in general. But I kind of thought to myself, if this was last season, I'm thinking, we're going to concede another 2 before the second half. But bearing in mind, it was really probably only Burnley's only shot on goal at that point. I just kind of thought to myself, yes, it was unfortunate. I mean, I can understand why it was given as a penalty. I mean, because Souček was just throwing his life on the line completely, trying to do everything bar get a penalty, and that's unfortunately what happened. But at the same point, we looked comfortable. It was a slow build up to it, granted, but we were pretty dominant at the start, right from the start of the game, and then literally, as we all know, a few minutes later as well. So, but at the time when we did the watch along on my channel, it was just like I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh God, here we go. We're not going to win this again." I was just thinking, because we've been in those situations before and we've come back. The Arsenal game is a prime example of that. To a degree, we're still having that fight to come back. And I was just thinking, whereas you can, that's what I'm saying. It's just like the confidence in the players. We've all got it now. We're all sitting there going, we can get this. But yeah, don't get me wrong, man. That to get 3 points at Turf Moor for the first time in practically 4 years, it's a big thing. And Kent was saying it in the weekly live chat last night that we haven't won since Dex's debut. That's how long it's been, and that's how long he's been with us in the senior team.
Yeah, I know, mate.
I know,
that is just when you say it like that, and he's been with us 4 years basically since the first team. That is mad. Yeah, I agree though, mate. Obviously, even though we did go 1-0 down, I don't know why, but there's resilience in this team where they go, you know what, we might be losing the game. We proved it at Newcastle when we was down to 10 men and all, and that sort of proved another point to us all. But let's be honest. Did you see Antonio putting that performance in?
Absolutely not. I was shocked as hell to see him in the starting 11. The one thing I love about Moyes with his pre-match conferences is he's keeping his cards very, very close to his chest. You know, so which is having a kind of a counter-attack attitude towards Moyes to a degree as well, because we're starting to believe Twitter now than we're starting to believe Moyes. You know, because it was floating around that Antonio was going to be back. Creswell possibly could have been back. You know, Dex was very close apparently as well. And then so I was sitting thinking, it's not tangible. You know, this is Twitter. Where there's nobody really reliable saying it. Then he appears in the starting 11. So you know, but at the same point, I love the fact that Moyes isn't giving any secrets away, because it gives us a lot of time to debate about things. And I genuinely love that. I mean, James, I don't know how long you've been watching my channel, but I don't get involved in any of the rumours in any shape or form. But at the same point, your brain's always ticking over, thinking, right, well, what's happening here? Like for example, even in the post-match conference, Moyes didn't say about and Noble until it went up on the club's website Tuesday morning, and likewise with Ogbonna as well. But it's working because nobody's, you know, you put it back 6 or 7 months and you're saying, you know, we've got injuries and we've got ex-players returning and all that sort of stuff, and people are thinking, right, let's set the team up to completely exploit what could happen. Whereas Moyes isn't giving any of that away now, and it's working to our credit big time.
I must admit, I do agree there. I do agree. I like that because he's
James, what's going on, man? You always disagree with me. Every single time we've spoken, you've disagreed with me on things. What's going on?
No, I do agree with you. I do agree with you on this one. Because what it is, we've been too known to sort of open our mouths before, like things have happened, and that's why teams have turned us over, like the Burnleys and the Brightons and teams like that. And I'm liking this sort of mystique. The only thing I will say, I don't know about you, but I like the 4 at the back. This 5 at the back rubbish has got to stop. I just think we're just too negative, and we're too. Well, I don't know about you, John, but the West Ham way has always been free-flowing attacking football. And we've never been a defensive-minded team in our history, I don't think. And like this sort of 5 at the back with wing backs, and it ain't just 5 at the back. When this is what people got to understand: is you got defensive midfield players in there and all. I just like
exactly.
Technically, you got about 7 defensive-minded players, and I just noticed, and I'm going to get onto him in a minute, is that like one player in Cresswell coming back changes the whole dynamic and the balance of the team. Right? The balance was just great. But I'm going to ask you this, mate. Vladimir Kufal, right? What a signing this man has been this season, isn't he?
He's just like his best mate. He's really surprised everybody, really surprised everyone. Right back we've been calling out for 15, 20 years. You know, that I genuinely can't think of a right back better than him since at least before the 2 Davids took over. I genuinely can't think of anyone that far back. I think, maybe, well, no, it wasn't in any shape or form. I mean, Guy Demel, maybe. It was one of our most consistents at that point, but at the same time, it's the old West Ham. It's having a player that's out there and putting his balls on the line, literally in certain times. Yeah. But I mean, James, when we were talking on the Free Hammers, when we were talking about the differences between having the back 3 and the back 5, and having the back 4, I maintained at the start of the season that having a back 3 with the wing backs really exposes our defenders, because we were terrible defending, and we still are to a degree. But that's West Ham in general anyway. Having the three and then the wing backs sitting into the back five, you're right, is very negative. But it's really helped us this season. It's the contradiction of it. It exposes our weaknesses, but at the same time, that's where we were getting a lot of our results from.
I think certain games you can play a five, like if you're playing one of the big boys or something. But then even then, I see us play against Manchester City this season up at the Etihad. We played a 4-2-3-1 system, and let's be honest, we didn't deserve to lose that game. I thought a draw would have been like we played all right. I just think sometimes when we're playing against these teams, especially like Newcastle the other week, like you don't need to play a five, because I think we can score goals. We've got goals in our team now. Like whereas for over many years, we've been lacking goals. Like we've always relied on one player, and the other players have sort of haven't turned up. But we've got goals everywhere now. Like Bowen, Lingard, Antonio. I know Ben Rama hasn't got a goal yet, and I'll get onto him a little bit later. But his presence, he takes people out the game for Lingard, Bowen, Antonio to flourish. Basically, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But, do you know what I mean? I've been a very good supporter of Ben Rama, and I'm going to get onto him now. What's your thoughts on Ben Rama, mate?
I like him. I've been putting him in, other than when he got his injury, I've been putting him in my starting 11 in the previews, including the one that's coming up tomorrow on YouTube. Because you're right, there's something there. You can see that he, like with Bowen when he first came with us. You know, that 6 months he was absolutely on fire, and then he wasn't able to score, and he was trying too hard. I think Ben Rama is trying too hard. If he just relaxes a little bit, he'll get there. But at the same point, to come in for 25 million, which for not as much money as obviously as the bigger flops we've had, but for 25 million, it's still quite a big thing. Bearing in mind he was on loan originally. There's a lot of pressure put on him, and a lot of it is undue. It really is undue. I like the kid. I think he's doing it's against the old cliche, but he's doing everything but scoring. And I think if he just relaxes a little bit, the goals will come big time.
Joe, I've been backing Ben Rama up from the get-go, and people have been saying, I've heard some crazy things, John. Like I've heard people say they want him sold. He's not good enough because he hasn't scored no goals. Like we've paid £25 million out for a player who can't score a goal. And I look at the bigger picture of him. Right? I've got a few stats, and I'll share them with you in a minute. Right? But when I look at him, when he plays, he takes people out the game. Like if a team's playing a 4 and he's up against their left back or right back or whatever. When he's going to beat them because he's that good at getting past people. And so what they do is they double up on him, and that's what opens the space up for the other players like the Lingards. How many times has Lingard run through defences this season, and Bowen and things like that? And the thing is, when you sort of go into it, it's because Ben Rama's such a he makes them think. He makes defenders think, and when they have to think, they need help. Other people come across to help him, and then it sort of goes like that. But I'm going to ask you this, John. How many games do you think that Ben Rama's started in a row for West Ham this season?
I know it's probably a lot more than I think. I'd probably have to say, where are we? I'd probably say 8 or 9, I think. He
started 7 in a row. And
so it wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He started 7 in a row. That was in beginning part of January. And he won 5 of them games, drew 1, and the only game he lost was a Liverpool home game.
Yeah.
And
sounds about right.
And then performances was the best performances I've seen him play this season. Palace away, Villa away, them two. Everton away, where I thought he played well. He was hard working and all that. But I just think he's got a bright future, and I agree with you, mate. Again, I think he's a diamond in the rough, and as well as I do, the West Ham fan base are so reactionary; they want it now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well, you see, with Ben Rama, I'm glad you brought up Villa away, because obviously that was Lingard's debut. He was massively instrumental. The three of them, Antonio, Lingard, and Ben Rama, were unbelievable together, the three of them. And again, that's one of the reasons why we played so well on Monday night against Burnley up at Turf Moor, was because the three of them pretty much have the Antonio and Lingard definitely are in sync with each other. Ben Rama's pretty much in sync with Antonio, so it's really good to see those three gelling together. And I can see why people were saying that he needs to be sold, because apparently that's where the rumours were coming out that Moyes was second guessing signing him now, that he was going to be sold. So that people are obviously going to jump on that bandwagon, but at the same time. Yeah, he's frustrating, but we didn't sign him to score goals. We signed him in the same way that we signed Fornals. Don't get me wrong. Moyes has said on a regular basis that he wants more goals from Fornals. He said it around about Christmas, if I remember correctly. And likewise with Ben Rama, he wants them, but because they're capable of scoring, it's just the fact that their first instinct is to set somebody else up.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can see Ben Rama getting better. And I think what it is, he needs a goal. But do you know what? If he keeps assisting and he keeps making goals for Antonio, Lingard, Bowen, and whoever, I couldn't care less. If he doesn't score a goal all season, but he assists 15 goals in a season, that's like scoring 15 goals, in my opinion. So
absolutely, mate. I 100% agree with you, because at the end of the day, like I said, that he's an attacking midfielder. He's not a centre forward. He's not a striker. He's there to either score when the situation's prevalent. I mean, let's be honest, man. He was very, very close to scoring on Monday night a couple of times. Yeah. I mean, that second goal from Antonio just was like the slightest of maybe a couple of hairs on his shin, and that was causing the goal to go in. So it is. It's just he will. I agree. He will get there, but the problem is that bearing in mind how thin the squad is. Looking at the bigger picture, especially if we're going to try and have a European finish in the next 4 games, can we afford to give him that grace? That's the difference.
Yeah. I think he's earned his place in the team for Sunday for sure. I just think when he plays, we just don't lose no games, John. We've lost against Liverpool when he's played from the start, and the rest of them we've won and drew. And to me, that's a good ratio for. There's got to be a reason why when he plays that we're winning games and we're not losing many. I think it's either the teams get burnt out or he stretches their defence, or I don't know, but it's. Like the stats don't lie. But one man I do want to speak to you about is a West Ham player who's been here for the last 6 years. Is Lanzini, mate. How good was he Monday night?
It was echoes of how he was six seasons ago. You know, literally the one of the first qualifiers that we had for the Europa League, Bilic's first game at Upton Park. He was outstanding that game. I've never forgotten that. And obviously, we remember him for the Spurs games, not just this season, but the couple of results at home in the midweek games against Spurs. He's a very, very good player. But again, as Moy said in this post-match conference, he's trying to get Lanzini to understand that he's not the same player that he was before his injury. We've all been saying that for years. Yeah. We've saying it the last 2 to 3 seasons now. It's just down to the fact that he needs to step up, and he's eventually doing it. And again, he's kind of like in a Payet mold to a degree, that he brings other players up. His performance, if he's around other players that are playing well, he plays well. If he's in the midfield that's playing shit, he's shit. And that's the only criticism I've got of Lanzini. But yeah, we just want more of that from him.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think he might have just saved us 25 million, in my opinion. Yep. I think if we sell him now, then it's just pointless. I think he can do a job as a DM. I thought he controlled the ball well. I thought he passed the ball well. He's always been a decent passer, Lanzini. That's one thing I will say about him. Like, he might not have had that sort of blistering bit of pace like that some midfielders have got, but he is good on the ball, and he can pick a pass out. And I think he's a very good cover. Yeah. He's very good cover, and it gives Souček and Rice a bit of, what's the word? It gives them a bit of like relaxation.
It gives them the oomph. It's that missing part of the puzzle. I mean, for my preview, I've put him in the number 10 role for Sunday's game. But at the same time, yeah, he worked brilliantly alongside Souček. To be honest with you, from what I recall of it, because obviously when you're doing a watch along, you're engaging with the chat and watching the game at the same time, so you miss a few things. But I don't remember seeing him playing that much of a defensive midfield role. He was more attacking for the majority of the game. But at the same point, like you're saying, he's more than capable, as is Fornals. Fornals can fall into that position when needs be as well, and it's a good sign that players that you wouldn't expect to do that are all playing because everybody's playing together for a change. We're all playing as a team rather than a bunch of individuals we were 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Yeah. What he did do on Monday, and he done it very well. He nicked the ball off the players and got it straight out to the forwards. Like you get the ball, you go right Lingard straight to him, or you go Ben Rama, or go wide to Cresswell. Honestly, I think Cresswell coming back Monday was a massive plus. Like, I think when he, even though before he got injured, he was making a few little silly errors for goals. But other than that, it proved it to me on Monday when he was there. The balance of the team was perfect. You can't keep playing square pegs in round holes. Like you can't play a right footed, play on the left hand side because it just don't work. What did you think of him, mate?
I absolutely agree. I genuinely think. I mean, I've been a big criticism of Aaron Cresswell over the last few years because, when he had that awful injury, he went through 3/4 of the season not making more than one challenge a game, and it really irritated me. But the majority of the season, like for example, that assist he gave Fornals at Leicester away, he's coming back to the Lanzini that we know under Allardyce, he's as I say, maybe him playing in the defensive back three has opened his eyes to his position a little bit better. That's you can make that argument, but a lot of people forget how vital his build-up play is, how quick he is down the wing, and we haven't seen that for a long time. But again, as I say, I think it's generally because we're all playing as a team, where everybody's gelling together, everybody's covering each other, which hasn't happened for a long time.
Yeah, and I do agree with that 100,000%. I've never seen the team spirit like this since probably 2016, but this team's much better. I think it's more organised. This team. Defensively better, and there's not we're not relying on one player. We've got multiple players who can do a job for us this season, and it's proving it. But what Luke's saying on this comment, about Diop, I just want to know what your thoughts are on Diop, because I've seen a lot of hate for this geezer over the last sort of 72 hours, and I'm telling you now, I don't think it's justified. I thought he played okay, like he made a couple of little errors, but everyone makes errors. Do you know what I mean? And what do you think, John?
To be honest with you, Diop, I love the kid. He's got a massive. He's like Ben Rama. He's got a big future ahead of him. He needs to man up with a lot of things. He can't do, for some random reason, the last few games, he's not been able to cope with aerial duels like he used to when he first came in. I don't know what that's my only criticism of him, and it's a big minus. Bearing in mind he's a defender. We need defenders like that the whole time. And Luke, I agree with you 100%. For the first time in a long time, I've actually dropped Diop from my starting 11. I put the 2 centre backs as Dawson and Balbuena for Sunday, because I just think those two against Everton, it just works better. It really does. But as I say, I've got a lot of time for Diop. I think he's a very talented player. He's got a big future ahead of him. He just needs to. His physicality needs to be up to 100%.
Yeah, but where's it gone wrong with him though, John? With that, that's the only thing I can't understand. Because when we signed him, he was a beast, and then all of a sudden, it just seems like he's fallen off the edge of a cliff. And he's, how can I put it? He does a few things good, but then he does it equally as bad. That makes sense.
But at the end of the day, I know what you're saying, James, but at the end of the day, mate, we all make mistakes. The only problem is because he's playing for a club that we all love, we see it worse than it actually is. But as I say, with Diop, I just genuinely think that possibly because let's be honest, he was dropped for a long time. He was dropped for Dawson. Yeah. Take the COVID thing out at the start of the season. Take that away. Dawson was absolutely brilliant in his place, and likewise with Balbuena as well. You know, Ogbonna and Dawson are a very, very strong centre back pairing together. But that,
I think his first game back, John, was Sheffield United at home. If I remember rightly, he come back. He come into that team, Sheffield United. I think Ogbonna got injured at the FA Cup game, and that's the reason why Diop come in. And but do you think it's justified the amount of sort of stick he gets, or do you think no?
No player deserves what they get. I mean, that's one of the reasons why a lot of us stayed off Facebook, stayed off Twitter, Instagram, etc. over the weekend, because we're sick and tired of seeing these players being abused for doing things a lot better. Let's be fair, a lot better than any of you and I would do on the pitch. This is why. I mean, don't get me wrong. I will hold my hands up. When we got relegated, I started my Twitter account, and the first tweet I'd sent was at Carlton Cole for why no apology for playing so shit for that season. You know, I'll hand my hands up to that. You know, that was 10, 11 years ago now. But at the same, but you know, it's just nobody deserves abuse under any circumstances, especially from people sitting at home watching someone on the telly. You don't. It's not about that for me. I mean, you can shout your frustrations at the game, fine, but again, it's the game stuff. It happens. People make mistakes. Like, you know, none of us would be able to perform, would be able to defend the way that Diop defends. So people shouldn't be criticising for it.
Do you think it's like a bit like our fan base? It's very reactionary because, like, if we all go back a few years ago, everyone wanted Ogbonna out the door. He said he weren't good enough, and said he's no good, and everyone wanted Ogbonna out. And do you know what I mean? And look at him now. Look at Ogbonna now. Like, even Luke says here, how dare you, John? You know Carlton is gone to Paul.
Luke, come on. You know full well both of you were probably thinking the same thing. Don't give me that. You're right, mate. It's and that's one of the reasons why I don't get reactionary. I just let things like for example the whole Super League thing. I didn't talk about it at all until 2 or 3 days later, because I want to see what happened first and foremost. But it is what it is, mate. You know, a lot of the fans will just go, yeah. But at the same point, it's jumping on the bandwagon. You know, there's a lot of people will just. I mean, fucking Jamie Redknapp's a prime example of what I'm talking about. He will just he's made an entire career out of the 15, 20 years he's been doing the punditry work. It will just say the same thing that somebody else says, and then but just change a word here and there to make it sound like his own thoughts. And that's what a lot of people are doing on Twitter, which is why I don't look at Twitter to see what people's reaction are, because I know what's going to happen. It happens every single game. Like for example with you look at Rice with the England performances, right? Well, over those 3 games, he got man of the match 2 of the 3 games, and it only took then for people to stand up and actually realise how well he plays. Because he will. I remember what was the first qualifier. People were tearing into him because he made one mistake. One mistake which led to that goal. Everything else, he was perfect. But that's all it takes. It's the little Herberts that do it. The little people trying to make a name for themselves will just go, right, I'm going to jump on him because I know everybody else is going to jump on him. It's going to get me likes. It's going to get me followers. It's going to be retweets. It's ridiculous.
Madness, mate. It is. And I must admit, like I see some of the stuff on Diop and some of the social media stuff on Twitter, especially. And I was like, if someone deserves criticism, then they deserve to be criticised. If they're not playing well and they're not putting their weight. We've seen it over West Ham many a times. There's been players strolling around, turning up, picking their money up and all that. But then sometimes there's criticism that this literally isn't deserved and isn't justified at all. And I just think it's just it's an agenda thing, and that's how it's been with certain players. But moving on there to sort of, as you're saying, Rice. Is there if Rice comes back on Sunday, what a big boost that would be for us, wouldn't it, mate? Going into this Everton game,
it will be, but I think it might be a little bit too soon. Just purely because we need to try and keep the squad without as many changes as possible to keep the momentum going. I know when he went on the Hammers chat, went on the Hammers chat's Burnley review, he said, "See you very, very soon" at the end of it. So yes, it's very possibly that he'll be back for Everton. If not, he'll be back for the away game after that. But personally, it's a tough one, mate. It really is a tough one because it was an injury that he suffered. It's not like he's been dropped because of players have been playing better than him. And there's the difference. If he was being dropped because he had a couple of games where he weren't playing all that well, then I'd say, yeah, bring him back for Everton. Everton's a perfect game for him. But it's an injury. You've got to phase the returns. And that was a massive, massive gamble by Moyes on Monday to bring both Creswell and Antonio back. The gamble paid off, don't get me wrong. But I don't want Rice to come back and he's not fit enough for it. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. But if he starts, I'll be happy. Of course, I'll be happy. It'd be a big, like you're saying, it's a big, big, big boost. But the problem is, like you're saying, you're dropping Lanzini as a result of it, who was very instrumental and could be very well instrumental for Everton, bearing in mind their away form is better than their home form at the season. So it's 6-2 isn't it? There's no real right answer.
It is really, but I think if he does come back, I think it gives us a bigger chance of winning this game. I think he's like, do you know what I mean, in that midfield. But I do understand what you're saying. If we do bring him back and he pulls up or he does anything, he's out for the rest of the season and basically.
There you go. Scott's has backed up what I was, not backed up, but kind of reiterate what I was saying. X has said it's unlikely he's going to be back for Everton, most likely Brighton. So yeah, that will be the most logical thing. But at the same point, no disrespect, I love X. He's a really, really good bloke, and I've spoken to a good few times. But even he gets stuff wrong because as we were saying earlier about Moyes having his cards so close to him, he might be putting stuff out to trick people.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's like that because it's been too easy to predict. Do you know what I mean? We could predict the team on a Tuesday night, and we're not playing till the Sunday. So yeah. Also, though, mate, I'll talk about the injury front before we move on to the game. Obviously, Bonner, he's gone down again, and obviously, people are saying it's only a small, short-term injury. If he comes back and he's fit, do you put him in front of Diop?
Absolutely, 100%. Like we were saying earlier, him and Dawson have been a real catalyst for some of the clean sheets we've kept this week. And obviously we were kind of getting worried about Dawson because he was getting a bit like Lucas Neal was getting an own goal every other game at one point. But it's an absolute no-brainer. The starting 11 for me with all defenders fit is Soufal, Diop, Soufal, Bonner, Balbuena or Dawson and Creswell all the time, 100%.
Yeah, and do you know what? Well, I think if he comes back, if we can get, I think personally, if we can get through the Everton game with a result and get them back for Brighton, I actually think Brighton's the harder game than Everton, in my opinion. Because we don't beat Brighton, we haven't beat Brighton since they've been in the Premier League, and to say that's mad, isn't it? It's mad. But looking at this game on Sunday, John, how do you see this game going on Sunday, mate?
I mean, if we can keep doing the same attacks we were doing down the wings, then we've got a very, very good chance. Everton are really shaky with defending wing attacks. It really, really is. They're also James Rodriguez, I've got a horrible feeling he's going to be back for this game. He's currently out injured, but I've got a horrible feeling he's going to be back for this. He's a brilliant, brilliant player for him, for Everton. They've got a lot of players that we need to keep a regular eye on. Like, for example, Sigurdsson, for one, his free kicks, scary to say the least. Will we play? One thing I am pretty much certain on is the fact that we will be playing a lot of long balls against Everton. We really, really will, because that's an easy way to exploit them. Even though they're good in the air, Everton are susceptible to a long ball. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
How do you see this game going, though? Do you see this? Would you see? The thing is, I think we need to win every game. If we're going to do anything, we need to win every game. But I think if we draw this game, as long as we beat Brighton, it's because that's. I think if you draw this game and you draw with Brighton, I just think Champions League's gone. But obviously, what do you think with regards to this game? How you can see it going? Like, can you see us winning this game with the team that played against Burnley, or do you think that Lanzini might get? I don't want to say bullied because he didn't get bullied against Burnley, but it's a different scenario when you're up against people like Andre Gomez, Allen, and Decore.
Boise Keane.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, it's difficult to predict because I haven't watched Everton that much this season. I've only watched them when we've played them, like in the League Cup game, and obviously the away game as well. So it's hard. It's a hard one to predict. I mean, but at the same point, if I would take 4 points out of 2 games, I genuinely would. Will we get that is another matter. You know, because let's you know, we've done a double over 6 teams so far this season. Can we do that over Everton? I'd like to think so. I'm more confident about us beating Everton than us beating Brighton, like you're saying, mate. You know, we literally haven't got anything from them apart from like 2 points in the last 4 or 5 seasons they've been up now. And obviously, you know, we all remember the home game against them in the championship. But that was a long time ago. You know, there's no Chris Hughton there anymore. But I generally can't predict this one in any shape or form. It could go many ways. If we, my heart is saying 3 points, of course, because I want us to finish as high up on the table as I will do every season. My head is saying probably a point. I mean, to be honest with you, man, to lose a Champions League space isn't a bad thing. Like Luke was saying with his roundup of everybody else's fixtures, is massively unlikely, but it would be the West Ham way to finish in the top 4, and you know Chelsea win the Champions League, and Arsenal win the Europa League, and we can't qualify. We're in the rounds for the Europa anyway. That would sum it right up. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be disappointed for Champions League. I prefer us going through to the group stages of the Europa rather than going through the qualifiers, because we know what's going to happen in the qualifiers. We know that. Yeah,
I think it's game on though this weekend, mate. If I'm honest, I think if we do beat Everton, Chelsea have got to go to City, and City are going to try and win that game to win the league and get that sewn up. And even if they draw up there, it's still a good result as long as we win. Like, do you know what I mean? And I just look at the other fixtures. Like, I think this game and the Brighton one are the two. I think the last two. I'm going to ask you in a minute, but like, how do you see the next 4 going, in your opinion?
Right. So we've got where we've got. I'm possibly thinking. Where is it? Okay, so it's 16 points to play for, isn't it?
No, 4 games.
4 games
left.
Right.
12 points.
12 points. 12 points. 10 out of 12. That's what my heart is saying. 10 out of 12.
Exactly
it would smash our all-time Premier League points record. As Luke said in the chat there, you know, we've already broken our win record as well. So it'd be great to have that, and then to finish in whatever European position, I'll be very happy with that. As I was saying in October, November, man, Tom, as I said, as long as we finish in the top 10, I'll be happy. And I still maintain if we finish in the top 6, I'll be absolutely ecstatic, because it was completely unthinkable in every shape or form. 95% of us were saying we're going to be in a relegation scrap this season, and it's backfired on that point beautifully. But at the same point, not to get too ahead of myself, but like Man City, we're finishing well without a centre forward.
Yeah, and that's got to change in the summer. And before I sort of give my sort of assessment on the Everton game, how do you see the summer window going, mate? Because I know something. If we do get European football, or whatever European football we get, the club has got to spend, and they've got to spend in the right areas, because we need some bodies at the club.
That's the thing. Because obviously when we did it last time, we bought 11 players in, and none of them bar Masuaku are with us now. I really don't think Moyes will make that same mistake again. From that perspective, I don't think he'd just let anybody through just to get the numbers in. However, I can't see more than 4 or 5 players coming in, even if we are selling Anderson and possibly there's another couple. I think there's a couple of juniors that might be leaving. Yarmolenko, yeah. I think there's a couple of juniors that might be on their way as well. Unfortunately, like Coventry. I can't see us reinforcing properly. I just can't. More like, for example, they will use the accounts as an excuse. It's great the fact that we've got no FFP restrictions this coming summer, which is surprising. But that's because of like Barcelona being such heavily in debt. But with the accounts were saying that we were £284 million loss last season, plus blaming COVID as on top of it. I can't see us getting enough for us to have a decent cup run, much less an Europa Cup run.
Yeah. Well, Luke says here's a question. If we get top 4, fans allowed back in for the final game, big party with the GSB out protest. Yeah, I must
absolutely,
admit,
man. I'll be right in the Hammers United stand. I was there for the first 2. I'll be there for the second, and I'll be there for every single one of them until something changes. And that the only change would be us selling the club. But they want close to £1 billion for it. It's ridiculous. £700 million apparently they want Sullivan's price tag is. It's ridiculous.
It is really, but I must admit, one good thing that we can say that Moyes has sort of done this on no budget, so to speak, a £6 million net spend. So for me, he's sort of shown them like that I can sort of work, but let's hope it don't work the opposite effect, like because he's done it this season. Oh, you're all right. We'll only give you X amount of pounds. So do you know what I mean? So yeah. Like my thoughts on the Everton game. I think Everton's a winnable game, but I think we've got to score first in this one. Yep. This is one. I know we got away with it against Burnley, but I thought Burnley were poor. I didn't expect that, and I thought we was very good. But Everton are not a sort of team that you can go and sort of concede a goal to, because they're, especially away from home, they've beat Leicester away, they've beat Tottenham away, they've drew at United, they've beat Liverpool, and I know it's been a freak season, but you still got to respect them that they're not a bad away team. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely,
yeah, I think we can win. I think we can beat them, but I think we've got to score first. And I think if we score first, then I think we can definitely 100% win the game.
Yeah.
I think if Everton score first, I think it's a draw written all over it. I think I can't see us losing the game because we're too much on a wave. But I'll be shocked if we lose. But I think the draw. If I wasn't a West Ham fan, I'd be back in the draw. I think they're both pretty similar teams. But
yeah,
I'm like you, John. I want us to win, and I think we can win. But we've just got to make sure that we do. Basically, we've got to do like what we've done against Tottenham.
Yeah.
Score at the right times,
and
then defend the right way. Do you know what I mean? But it's going to be interesting, the final 4 games, and if we do make European football, which I think we will do.
Hang on, James. Can I just talk to Mark about this comment, because I'm not pissing on our parade in any shape or form, mate. I've literally just said the best thing for this club is to have GSB to sell it. I've not at any point made any negatives about how the club's been in any shape or form. That really, I'm sure he doesn't mean it in the way it comes across because it's a message and everything else. But that just shows you've not listened to anything we've said at all.
What it is, West Ham could go and win the league, but I still want them gone.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I think their time's up. I think, and I agree with John on this one. I do. I think like we've had a good season, but we'll see where we are next season. Because if we go back to being the same old West Ham again, flirting around relegation, 15th, 12th, something like that, then nothing's really changed, does it? It's just been a freak season, and people will just say, well, it's a one-off.
And I'll reiterate this, Mark. And if you are a West Ham fan, this really, really worries me, that question, right? The reason being is because, right, I've just said that I was involved in the 2 Hammers United protest walks. What happened after the game? Nothing. Nothing happened during the game. Nothing happened before the game. Nothing happened after the game. We were there. We were backing the team the entire time. If you don't like people's opinions, Mark, then just understand where people are coming from. It's not nonsense we're talking about. Man United supporters have been in exactly the same position for the last 10, 15 years. Newcastle fans have been in exactly the same position for the last 10, 15 years. Chelsea have only just recently jumped on it because of the Super League. Just because a club is successful doesn't mean it's being run right. Yeah, we have spent badly for season after season after season, bringing in shit. We've just talked about it, right? Well, our last Europa campaign, when our first one into the London Stadium, we bought 11 players in 6 years ago, and only one of them is with them now. That's half of David Sullivan trying to be a manager. And there is unity here, Mark. We're all behind the team. We're not behind the owners. Over the last 2 years, the West Ham fan base's mantra has been support the team, not the regime, and that's this has brought everybody together. If you don't understand what unity is, mate, look it up in the dictionary, because we are literally united as a support base. We're just not happy with the way things are being run, as James has said, as the Glazers demonstrations have been over the Mike Ashley's demonstrations have been. It's not just us just West Ham. It's across the board. And the majority of the teams in the Premier League and the Championship are not run in the way that they should be run, and this is why fans have this voice to say it. That's what unity is.
It just to counter that, and I do sort of agree with John totally there. Like I don't want to see West Ham. I've seen West Ham too many times fighting relegation, struggling and selling their best players, right? And let's be honest, there's teams above us who's been above us, like Wolves, other teams. I will get to your comment in a minute, Scott. Hold on, mate. And I agree. I think like we're a big club. We're in London. We're in a big stadium. We've got to start acting like a big club, and the mentality has got to change at the club. Like that's what Moyes is doing. But yeah, he needs help, and I just don't think the owners have got the best interests of the club. I think they're looking at it as a money pit and basically think, you know what, our club's not worth £1 billion. I don't care what anyone says. Do you know what I mean? And well, we've got our training grounds poor. We don't even own our own stadium, and they want £1 billion from it. So to me, it's a financial investment, and they're looking at it not from a fan's point of view. They're looking at it from a business point of view. Whereas everyone here, John, myself, we look at it from a fan's supporters point of view, and John's probably been up and down the country many a time, as much as I have over the years. He's put a lot of money into the club. So for me, we've got more right, as much as every fan, to say that, you know what, we've done your time, hand it over to someone else who's a bit more sort of can take us to the next level, because I've had enough of us. Because I do believe, and I will say this, if we ever did go down again, I don't think we'd come back. I think you've only got to look at Leeds. Leeds 16 years, mate, 16, 17 years.
Look further back than that. David Gold and David Sullivan approached the West Ham board in the early 2000s to buy it. And they said, no, we don't trust you. No way, not a chance. And so they went and bought Birmingham. And then the unfortunate circumstance was the Icelandic financial crash. They jumped in and bought the club for probably 60-70% of what it was worth. Because, like you're saying, mate, it's because they see it as a long-term investment. They don't give a shit about the club. Honestly, how many times have we seen David Gold and David Sullivan, a pair of them, at the football games over the last 11 years since they've been in owners? A handful at best. More obviously because of the it being London, so it's local, so we see him at the home games. But the away games is either David Sullivan. He's very, very rarely there. That's more for the local cup games. And David Gold. Now, I've got no issue with David Gold in any shape or form. He's a silent majority when it comes to that. He is the PR face of West Ham. David Sullivan is I hate to say this because it's an awful term, but there's no other way of saying it. David Sullivan is the cancer that is killing West Ham. This club, West Ham, is all but dead. West Ham is all but dead, which is why we'll see.
I will say one thing though, John. I know you said about David Gold there, but I think he is just as bad as Sullivan. Because if he was to walk away, and I've had this discussion before, if David Gold said, you know what, I'm in my 80s now. I want to walk away from this. I think if you take one of them away, they all go. I think if you keep, and I just think people say about his age and all that, but I'm not on about his age. I'm on about his sort of like, if you really cared about the club, like £6 million net spend is not good enough, is it?
Exactly. But Scott, you've just literally not listened to what I've just said. I've literally just said they are there for every home game because it's local. I'm talking about the away games. So please listen to what somebody's debate before, if you're going to say you disagree with something that's saying the same thing that I've just said.
Yeah. No, then that is true. I don't think I've ever seen them away games. And the only time they were ever... Well, let's put it like this, and to sort of end on this. When we get into the League Cup quarter final or whatever it was, David Gold didn't want to pay 50 grand for the team to travel up there. That's not an ambitious owner, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And that to me says it all. Like, and as West Ham fans, we haven't won a cup in 41 years.
Thanks, Scott. Accepted, mate. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this is the thing again, because David Sullivan will find anything to hide behind. He's hidden behind financial fair play rules for Christ knows how long. He's hidden behind COVID. You don't see the likes of Burnley or Brighton, or even Everton, for that matter, coming out and saying, we're not going to put anything through because of COVID. We are one of the few teams that are doing it. The problem is he's hiding behind these because he's not adult enough to come out and say we've spent badly, we've made mistakes. He's not. He won't. He will never ever do it, and he will find every other excuse under the sun. Like for example, what's his name? Robert Snodgrass came out and publicly humiliated him. Yet he still was saying about, my son, I didn't want to. My sons were telling me not to do it, and all that sort of stuff. And what's the other defender around about the same sort of time that he was criticising at the time?
Was it Jose Font?
Jose Font. Yeah. And they both didn't get involved in it. It was just like, well, if that's his opinion, that's his opinion. I don't give a monkeys. With every single great signing, it's his. If it doesn't work, it's the manager's. He can't make. We won't take responsibility for things, and that is why the fan base is united against David Sullivan, Karen Brady, and to a lesser extent David Gold. Because, like you're saying, mate, the three of them will come as a package. I don't think Gold stepping down would make that much of a difference, because Sullivan and Brady are more in it for the money than he is. They'll sell his shares, or they'll give it to his daughters or whatever. They won't batter an eyelid. They're like, see you, Dave, thanks for that. That's it.
I think, just to sort of come to the end of it, of this discussion tonight, I think what it is with the old GSB. Now, I know a lot of people, like through West Ham and things like that, and a lot of people lost their homes. And I've said this on different platforms. They lost their homes, they lost their businesses around Upton Park. And the fact that they didn't help them to get set up at Stratford, like the pie and mash shop, even the bowling pub, for instance. If the bowling pub would have had their own section in Stratford, then that business could have carried on. And they sort of up sticks left them. And
and you're also, sorry to interject there, James, but you're also missing one of the biggest vital things out there as well: the supporters club. They absolutely ignored them completely. Yeah, I get it. Let's not forget. I mean,
was that at East Ham? Was that the supporters club, or was that?
No, the supporters club was at the bottom of the Bobby Moore stand.
Oh, that's
they independently went and found the pub that they could try and take over to do it as a result of it. And also, if you remember from the Iron Men film, as well, for that matter, where I know one of the street vendors you're talking about, the sweet guy, he had his head in Gold's Rolls Royce, saying, all I want to do is I want to work. That's all I want to do. I just want to work. I want to look after my family. I want to look after my kids. And he said, we will do everything we can. Did he bollocks? Did Gold bollocks? They just completely ignored him. And he probably went, right, they probably just like tripled the ground rent for him. They said, say it's going to cost you £1,500 a month to rent it out there. That's why all the big conglomerates are out there, mate. It's because it's expensive to floor land out there.
Yeah, and that is the thing. A lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people lost their jobs. lot of people lost their businesses, especially around there, and they wasn't looked after. And you don't do that in the East End. Like, it's usually a community-based club. It's always has been West Ham. It's a family, like it's a local club for local people in the local area. And obviously, over years, it's expanded out. People have have moved away, but they've still supported the club in Australia, America. See, I do a few things in America for a few Americans on this channel, and it's mad when I'm speaking to Americans and their dads used to live in Canning Town, or for instance, and they've got pictures of Bobby Moore and they're living in Brooklyn. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit mad, but no, I agree with you, John. I do. Like, I think they should have looked after their own first. And there was another club in East Ham. I can't think of the name of it, but I can't remember what it was. But the one I know the one you're on about, the supporters club, is right next door, beside the church, basically. So they need to go. It's sort of like, if all these clubs are going to go to the next level, our club needs to go to the next level. And I don't think we will go to the next level under their ownership. And I've always said that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we will get very, very close to it. It's just it won't be what they promised us 10 years ago. That's the thing.
Do you think though, John, they're waiting for it to 2023 so they can approach to buy the stadium, then sell it?
Well, yes and no. I do think that way, but at the same point, it's a 20% sell-on fee if they do it already now. You know, it's not really going to be that much from the. See, the problem is David Sullivan's probably got as much in his wallet as you and I have, because all his money is tied up in property. I don't think he's got that much available cash at all, which is the. I just saw it, Mark. Thanks for letting us know, mate. So yeah, Luke, you have to take down your video now, mate, because it's all irrelevant now that Arsenal aren't winning. But seriously, it's. I will be very surprised if they don't within the next 2 years, man. I'll really be very surprised if they don't, because it will come to I don't know, come to December next year, and they go, well, can we negotiate? We've only got a few months left. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be at all surprised if that comes out in a year or so's time. Wouldn't be at all surprised. But yeah, it's because they're in it for the money. If they weren't in it for the money, they would have sold it. They would have done it by now.
Basically, to sort of round it up, mate, they think money first, West Ham second, and with us it's West Ham first, money second, and that's the difference. When you've got an interest in something, it ends up being a business model rather than a fans model. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely,
it's just one of them. But
James, I've got to disagree with you quickly there, mate. From my point of view, there's a fan base. First is West Ham, second is West Ham, third is West Ham, fourth is money. You know, it's literally money's irrelevant to us. I mean, it's obviously irrelevant to when it comes out of our back pockets and the amount of money we've got to spend on tickets and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of looking at the bigger picture, West Ham is very, very important to 99%. Like, for example, my uncle, who was a season ticket holder before I was, and he also used to jump around over the 50s and 60s. Used to jump around all the state, them different tiers and everything. He vowed never to go anywhere near the London Stadium once we moved, because that was the day that West Ham died for him, and that's sad. It's very, very, very symbolic. You know, as I say, you know, I'm fourth generation. My great granddad used to work for Thames Iron Works. My granddad used to go to the bowling. He used to go to the bowling. My other uncle used to go. And now it's me and my cousins, and it was it was just football isn't football anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, but do you think, John, that football's just changed in general, though?
Oh God, yeah. It's football's disappeared. It's a business.
Yeah,
we are this close for it to being a franchise. Give it another couple of years, mate. The ESL will be back again, and I mean, because at the end of the day, all clubs are practically franchises now anyway, because they're advertised all over the world. 50 years ago, nobody out in Thailand would have known who West Ham were. Loads of people do now.
No one in Southend would have known them either. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, mate. Well, John, I want to say thanks for coming on tonight, mate. I really do appreciate it. and it's been really good to have you on tonight. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. And apologies for my rant at Mark, but there's certain things you don't say to football supporters.
Nah, that's all good, mate. At the end of the day, it's an opinion-based show, and everyone's got an opinion, and that's why it's viewed from the sidelines, because we're all from the sidelines and we're all seeing it differently. Do you know what I mean? But
but thank you very much for having me on, mate. I'm glad we've been able to sort this out. It's been good, and it's been nice to interact with everybody. I swear Luke is stalking me as much as I'm stalking him, because he pops up in my chat as much as I pop up on his.
And Mark said no worries, so it's all love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks for coming on, John. If you want to check out John, Twitter's there. I know. It's been a long day. His Twitter's there. Go and follow his channel, JPWHU TV. Good stuff over there. That does watch-alongs and everything with West Ham and this good stuff. So go and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And thanks for watching, everyone. I do appreciate it. I know this one was a bit. I usually have more guests on, but other people ain't about tonight. But John's been superb tonight, and I'll get him on again for everyone. And have a good weekend, and let's hope for a positive result come Sunday. And Sunday night we are celebrating 3 points.
Absolutely. So, and Scott, go and change your underpants, mate. I'm sorry that I scared you a little bit.
Yeah, he's probably has. Do you know what I mean? Thanks, everyone. Take care, and all the best.
See you guys.